pixelate you. You seem to have recovered so well and so quickly compared to the many ex-JWs I know who were in the cult for a similar amount of years, including myself. That's all the more surprising considering that Scientology seems to do a much greater mind on the followers than even the JWs, but of course there's no good or healthy cult. What has been most helpful to you in your own recovery, and what would you recommend to new cult escapees? Recovering from a cult is a long-term process that takes, months, years, maybe the rest of a person's life. That's how I think I'm going to be doing my recovery, quite honestly. But in terms of things that help, adopting critical thinking is a really good place to go. And I was so happy that I came across this subject and started learning about it so early on after I got out of Scientology, while I was still in the headspin of having gotten out of it, and finding critical thinking through James Randi, Carl Sagan, Penn and Teller even, and their shows and talks on the subject of critical thinking, skepticism, science, rationality, and reason. I also found skeptic.com to be very, very helpful to me. It's a online magazine that features skeptics talking about skeptical things, and lots of woo, lots of paranormal debunking and religious nonsense being debunked there and that sort of thing. Not that I'm saying all religion is nonsense, that's not what I'm saying. Just when they get up to nonsense, they can get up to some pretty crazy nonsense, especially in destructive cults. So it was good to get that debunked by learning about skepticism and critical thinking. So, other than that, I also found a book by Steve Hassan called Combating Cult Mind Control. I met Steve in Toronto at the Anti-Scientology Getting Clear conference, and he was great. And I read his book, and it really helped me a lot. I cannot recommend reading anything from him, especially Combating Cult Mind Control, because it really goes into what the cult think is and how destructive cult leaders operate and how they gain mental, psychological, and emotional control of their members, and how you can break free of that by learning about it. Education is essential. It is not enough to get out of a cult and just walk away. Not if you want to actually fully recover from it. You must educate yourself on what destructive cults are and how they operate, and what the cult leader's playbook consists of, because you find in doing education on it that it is the same playbook from one cult to the next, to the next, to the next. The JWs really aren't a whole lot different from Scientology, aren't a whole lot different from the Moonies, aren't a whole lot different from David Koresh's Branch Davidians. A cult leader does certain things in order to get people to follow them, and those things are based on psychology and our emotional makeup. By learning how they operate, you free yourself from the lasting influences of the cult and its hold on you, and also kind of free yourself emotionally and mentally from all that stuff. So those are the sorts of resources I've taken advantage of that I highly recommend. And actually, on my blog, mncriticalthinking.com, I have a recommended reading list, and you can go to that and check that out too, and I'll put a link to that in the notes section of this video down there.